Hello, my name is Catherine and I'm going to talk you through how I became literate in gaming literacy. Let's play. Simply described, gaming literacy is the ability to play video games on a computer efficiently. But what does that involve? To me, gaming literacy is an ability that must be continually developed in order to keep up with the chaotic and rapidly shifting world of gaming. You have to know all about software, hardware, patch notes, metas, and the list goes on. I love challenging myself to reach new goals when it comes to my gaming addiction. Hobby. I started my gaming literacy journey relatively late compared to my friends, at 15 years old in 2017. I spent time with my friends, and all they ever wanted to do was play a game called League of Legends. Eventually, I got tired of just watching them play, so I thought to myself, it doesn't look that hard. Maybe if I learn to play too, I can spend more time with them. So time plus League of Legends equals more time with friends. And that was the first time I ever played a computer video game. As I started playing, I realized that I was very wrong. It was not as easy as it looked, like most things in life. It was all so complicated. There were so many new words and details, and everything was happening so fast, too fast for me to learn. But I started to watch videos and more in-depth tutorials. I even wrote down different words I didn't understand so my friends could explain them to me. Slowly, I started to understand more, and more importantly, enjoy the game, which resulted in more victories. What really allowed me to become the player I am today was when my boyfriend Luca sat down to help me learn at a pace that matched my skill. He understood that I hadn't been playing since foundation phase like the rest of our friends had. He would play games with me while explaining every detail of what was happening and tell me how to respond. Because of his patience, today I play with all my friends on almost a daily basis, which helps me stay in touch with my friends. And to date, I am level 267 and have played 1,182 hours. That's 49 days for League of Legends alone, the game that started.
Greetings, my name is Mmathabo Mahlangu, and today I will be presenting to you my multi-modal literacy narrative, which is how I learned how to knit and crochet. Knitting and crocheting for me is a hobby, and it's something that I genuinely enjoy doing as it serves as a stress reliever and as something that I do if I'm bored. So, the learning process and how I learned how to knit. We will start with I learned how to knit in 2020 while I was volunteering to make winter clothing items for the less fortunate, specifically for women and children in hospitals who have just given birth. So it was not easy, and I was taught by two elderly women from church how to knit, as this was a church project. And afterwards, a couple years later, I taught myself how to crochet because knitting in itself was a little bit difficult for me. And I will be discussing my difficulties and what I had to go through when learning how to knit and crochet. So, knitting and crocheting are two different things, but they're very similar to each other. And one of the ways that you can distinguish between knitting and crocheting is knitting, you use two needles, and with crocheting you only use one hook. So with some of the challenges or obstacles that I had to overcome, for starters, if with knitting it was my hand placement, I was struggling a lot with how to handle the needles and how to start a chain stitch, and I often found myself adding and subtracting stitches or chain stitches while knitting. And then with crocheting, one of the biggest things was having to buy my yarn and tools and finding a place or a shop that actually sells them at an affordable price. And as well, again, starting my chain stitch, it was a little bit difficult, but now I find that I can do it much easily. And also differentiating between patterns and methods. So I found myself mixing patterns while I was crocheting. I would use 2, 3 different patterns at the same time, and my work looked awful. The video in the next slide will show a little bit of how more or less bad it was. So, my key role players or people who supported me throughout this journey were my mother and my grandmother. They were there throughout the journey. They helped me to overcome a lot of the challenges.
Hello, my name is Sinethemba Buthelezi, and my literacy is all about cooking. I was 13 years old when I started learning how to cook because my mom was always at work and always working late and came back at home very late. So I started learning how to cook because I did not want her to stress over preparing a meal whenever she's from work and very tired. So, cooking for me was very challenging because I had no knowledge of how to cook, but I have seen my mom, cooking, but then I have never been the one being behind the stove and actually mixing all the ingredients and preparing the meal. So it was a challenge because one time when I was trying to chop some onions, I cut my finger and I also burnt the pot, which was a very big disaster as I was trying to cook some pap, as well as I burnt my hand when I tried to mix the maize meal trying to cook pap, which was very challenging for me. So the people who played a major role in me learning how to cook and actually achieving that goal of learning how to cook was my mom, who always made sure that whenever she came early from work, she would help me know how to mix ingredients and how to do certain plates, as well as try out certain recipes. And also my sister, who was always there for me when I was trying out dishes, and she was the judge of every dish that I made while learning how to cook. Thank you very much.
My name is Yasin Goolam Hoosen, and I am an artist in the art of knowing how to use minimal resources to address basic human needs. From the age of 8, I loved watching the TV show MacGyver. The resourcefulness and ability of MacGyver to get out of difficult situations piqued my interest. From MacGyver to Bear Grylls, I fell in love with the idea of eating insects and climbing mountains. In high school, I found a program that would go on to entail that I would go on a journey of hikes, survival games, and solitude. In a journey to find out more about myself by getting closer to nature. I began the Red Blazer program in grade 8 facing many challenges, including a lack of experience, fitness, and a weak mentality. Through hard work, learning from academies and courses, and getting rid of mental blocks, I was able to overcome these challenges. A major role player in gaining this literacy was the late Mr. Anton Venter. This is him describing an event.
Out to the farm, they will participate in a fairly tough walk on the first night, and then they are going to sleep in shelters on the ground, on ground sheets at least, but with their own sleeping bags, and they are going to learn to appreciate the small things they have in life. They're going to.
Whilst I always had an interest in survival, it was Mr. Venter's program that laid the platform to me and to truly learn and practice outdoor skills. He had an impact on many students, many of whom have gone on to have incredible impacts on society, but none more so than Mr. Venter himself. Mr. Venter placed a huge emphasis on mentorship as an integral part of his program. This thus bringing me to the role of mentors. I myself have been mentored by countless people whom have all impacted my journey to survival literacy. And now, as a mentor myself, I help others in their survival literacy journey. Another role player in my journey was my peers. They helped me a lot in times of physical and mental struggle through encouragement and peer teaching. Their encouragement allowed me to grow and improve on my weaknesses, and in doing so, I am survival literate today. I leave you with this. Girk in 1954 states, in his survival guide, that we are no longer responsible for maintaining our own physical existence.